All right, welcome back, everybody. Alan Wheeler from the Coastal Design Builders here for our weekly Ask Alan Anything segment. Today, we're talking about how homeowners' expectations can affect a project. So, Alan, welcome back to the program. Great to have you here, as always.
Thanks, John.
Well, tell me about some of those homeowner expectations and how they can affect that building process.
Well, I'm going to be a bit philosophic that everyone, like when we get married, when we start a new job, everyone has expectations from their own experience. And so when a homeowner wants to build a custom home or do remodeling, they're faced with the same situation. They have expectations, and they'll ask me questions when I meet, so that initially they might feel a little more comfortable. But I'm going to make a suggestion that the expectation factor in residential construction is huge. It's very important, and in some cases, some people are hard to adapt, and it's not a deal breaker. But some people, have better experiences than others because of expectations.
So it's going to be difficult, but obviously you want to kind of manage those expectations a little bit, because there are things that can get in the way of perhaps an on-time delivery, let's say, or a completion date that can really sour that relationship between the contractor and the person building the home.
Yes, right. You're right. And, it's right to expect to have quality work, to be able to finish a project within time, particularly if there are, no known big issues like weather, like last summer it rained so much. So they have those demands and very realistic expectations. A few delays. They shouldn't have a lot of delays. Cleanliness on a job site. Now, I say in my agreement, broom clean. But I have found over time that sometimes people, because they vacuum their house, the definition of that. So we need to talk about, what broom clean, that, you can eat off the floors in your house, but not on the project.
Well, it seems like a very important conversation that you need to have with your contractor up front. Now, what do you do when you have these conversations with somebody looking to build or remodel a home? What do you tell those homeowners to expect?
Well, for instance, I will provide a work schedule with decision dates, because I think fear can come in when people don't know what's going to be happening next. So I'll pick a starting date, and I'll say we need to decide on shingles, on cabinets, on whatever the project requires.
So kind of giving them a timeline.
Give them a timeline so they feel more comfortable with that. And then the job begins, and I continue to try to educate, and I actually bring up subjects that they might not know to ask. And then I've really had some interesting expectation situations. I know that people tend to like to talk with people. So on a job, many times homeowners will come out and visit with the trades.
Yes.
Some will stand there for 2 hours and look over their shoulder. Well, that really does bother the trades.
It's got to be counterproductive, too, because they're supposed to be there supervising or building or doing their trade. And when you're talking to somebody, you're taking away from the timeline of that project.
Well, right. And it's not going to delay the whole thing. And the guys are proud. They like to, oh, yeah, you like what I'm doing. So I understand that.
Yeah.
And those are realistic. But then I've had some situations where somebody would say, well, we've got a couple of dogs and we both work, so make sure not to let them out.
Right, and that's what you don't want to do. Al, we got like less than a minute left, so what should the builder do to avoid misunderstandings?
I think communicate, communicate, communicate. Realtors say location, location, location. So I think if you have homeowner has any questions, to ask right away. The builder really needs to be proactive and think about stages. Remind them to read their contract, to look at the allowances, look at the calendar date.
Yeah.
The more you communicate.
Great tips right there. And you can communicate with Alan by hitting up the email address that we're going to put on the website on the screen there right now. And you can ask Alan any question you have from ceiling to floor. We'll make sure we get that up. And you can ask him anything. We've already had several people ask some questions, and we're going to reveal some of those and hopefully answer some on Low Country Live at a future date. So make sure you call that number, or just hit that website right there if you'd like to ask Alan anything. Alan Wheeler, thank you so much, my friend.
Hey, thanks,
John.
Do
appreciate it as always. More Low Country Live coming up after the break. Stay with us.